Hello, everyone, and welcome to Replacement Lols. Davis Maddock and Brian Cooper here with you. Pete is he doesn't want to talk about Sims for the ninth week in a row. I don't know. I don't know what why does Pete not want to do the show?
Sims. I think we've been scandals for like 4 weeks in a row, which by the way, like doubles your audience every single
Oh
time.
yeah, what's the most recent scandal?
The I think last week's was that home league one where the
Oh,
guy
you're
was
missing a. Do you know that you guys are missing a huge one right now?
what the
This
oh the
this
DraftKings one?
this DraftKings lawsuit, this DraftKings head of VIP basically clandestine middle of the night steals a bunch of quote unquote confidential information that didn't sound that confidential, by the way, from the Legal Sports Report article, and then gets hired by Fanatics. Honestly, just sound like this guy basically was like, I'm gonna get a bunch of money to work for Fanatics. But let me tell you this about this scandal, and I'll save the rest of it for you and Pete to get into next week because I think we'll have more reporting. DraftKings rewards suck so much ass. The VIP program has gotten so much worse year over year. It doesn't make me feel particularly good to know that the guy who is in charge of all of it is this giant dickhead who was just almost making it worse on purpose.
Yes, yeah. I wonder if they go, okay, we got this scandal with our head here. Let's just stop all this VIP stuff for now, figure this out, and then we'll get back into it. Like maybe the VI program might come back
I
after they
hope
solve all
so.
this.
I hope so. Yeah,
Um,
because what they're doing right now is so low effort and so shitty that it's possible. Yeah, I mean that's definitely possible.
there like basically isn't a rewards program. I mean, it's pretty weak. So they basically just got rid of all of it. And I said this, we've been talking about that on the show like every time I mention it, but like the even the store, like the DraftKings VIP store, like they used to give like half off at the end of the year. Like they don't even do that anymore. It's like,
They just
and
don't.
like,
They no longer care because honestly, they just hope that they get casino or sportsbook whales who just ship it to them. And if someone is shipping you $2 million of losses a year, you can just hire someone to interface with them directly. Like you don't have to fuck with the storefront. You can just be like, sir, what do you need so that you keep playing online blackjack?
yeah, this is the evolution of a big regulated business. You get in there, and then you keep lobbying to force your competition out. So like this move with Fanatics, I don't even know what they do. Do they do DFS? Um this is a big no for them because like they're shifting to oligarch level here. They're like, hey, we're in non-compete land now. So like you doing this is really screwing us over.
Yeah, Fanatics is just sports betting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
no
but
no DFS involved.
yeah, but the VIP is sports betting and DFS, so like it makes sense that they'd want him.
And I
But
would guess Fanatics also doesn't have any of the casino stuff either that DraftKings does.
and it also makes sense that they put DFS and sports betting together, which wasn't the case before. And maybe it's because of this guy. Um, where I mean, in my brain, you should keep these things totally separate. The rewards should be totally different. It's two different. Yes, there's some overlap. All
Because
of
they're
us sports
trying to
bet.
incentivize you to get the fuck off the DFS site because they don't care. They just want you to ship losing sports bets and losing they want you to play blackjack and that
I
stuff.
don't know. Again, like Amazon does a whole bunch of shit. Fucking Elon owns Twitter and Tesla and a space company. Like, there's you could do
Yeah,
multiple things.
your boy Elon, just such a champion for free speech, and he's just always, gotta love that guy.
I do love him. You know
No,
he's
you don't.
did,
I absolutely refuse to believe that. You don't.
did you see he's rumored to buy Disney now? Like
Does
he's
he
gonna
have enough
partner.
money? Does he have enough money to do that?
No, that the guy who's trying to take over Bob Iger's spot owns like 5% of the company or something, or 2% of the company. I can't
Sure.
remember his name, but he was like the head of something years ago, and now he wants 2 board seats. So like it wouldn't take much for him to partner with somebody else to get another board seat. Some I don't know all the details, of course, but that is, and it's a rumor. But like he went with this guy to some red carpet event, and then did an Elon thing, like, oh, who knows, maybe I'll buy it. So
Let me tell you, if you thought somehow Palpatine returned was bad, the Star Wars with Elon calling the shots and deciding who gets to live and die would not be a good time.
oh, I think it would be. I don't think you could do worse than Disney's doing.
Oh,
So it's
that is, buddy, that is rich. You definitely could.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like obviously you could just, spend $5 on it and have the local high school guy direct it. But I'm saying serious people doing it, no, I don't think you could do much worse.
How are you feeling about all these rumors that the next big film is going to be a Daisy Ridley Ray film?
It'll be good to make fun of.
Here's the thing. I think that she was very good in those movies. So if someone competent is writing and directing it, there's actually I mean, obviously they can't save sort of this new era of Star Wars, but they could make it watchable. They could make it, like where it's not like the worst thing in the world.
The rumors are she's not going to be the star.
Interesting.
She's going to be a lot older.
Yeah, I heard that one that there's going to be a Helen Mirren one of her in the future, that there's like an 80-year-old Rey that's played by Helen Mirren.
I also heard she is going to have babies. Twins, of course.
Well, yeah, you got to have twins. I don't know how I
They're
feel about
they're going to
that.
do she's going to take Leia's role, in this expanded universe, that the books we all read. And then and I think the twist is it was Adam Driver's Ben Solo's kids. Like
Well,
Force
sure.
kids
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Um
Force time kids.
right. So like I would imagine then, so like so she'll be like whatever she is now, 30 something, has the kids, flash forward to Helen Mirren, and now your kids are the new stars, they're gonna be 20, something like that. They'll be 18, whatever Luke and Leia were. I get obviously there's always way, and speaking of, I got no problem with her. Obviously I think she was fine, and there was a lot of good actors, and the acting
Adam
wasn't the
Driver's
problem.
performance was good. He just I mean, honestly, I thought Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley were both very good. They were just asked to actually very similar to what I feel about Hayden, where I love Hayden Christensen's portrayal of Anakin, but he just was given some of the worst dialogue to
Oh
chew
yeah,
on of all time,
I just watched 1 and 2. It's not good.
Attack of the Clones is a tough watch, man.
um
Until they get to the arena. The arena is great. I mean, you can't complain about the arena on Geonosis.
actually I'm sorry, I watched the one and half of the second one, because they're long movies, man.
Yeah,
Through them 3 hours. But John Boyega wasted too. I mean, we've talked
oh
about
yeah,
these.
sure.
We've spent hours. People want to hear our takes on Star Wars. Sign up for Davis's Patreon.
Yeah, and
Um,
we have a new final season, animated season, starting February 21st, I think.
a Bad Batch.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, which actually looks pretty good. I always judge these cartoons from a cartoon standpoint,
sure.
not a movie standpoint. Um,
That might kind of be the future of what Star Wars on Disney Plus is going to be, though, because it seems like they're gonna transition this story that they're telling to the big screen. It sounds like with the announcement of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that we might not even get season 4 of the Mandalorian. Might be done. You
right.
know, might not even
Yeah,
get
I
season
mean,
2 of Ahsoka. We don't really know.
after season 3, I mean, I have no faith season 4 or this movie would be good. I thought season 3 was awful. Um, they needed to clean house with the writers, everybody, and get people who
Well,
actually love the project. Put Gilroy in charge of anything.
Filoni got promoted. So if some of the things that we were thinking was like maybe Dave's just not that good of a writer, maybe he's a better storyboarder idea guy.
Right.
Maybe we get a real improvement in some of that stuff.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, yeah, and I'd be fine with that too. But like, even his comments now recently of like, it doesn't matter, if the stories are contiguous because it's lore, and so it's all told from different perspectives. Like, I really don't like that angle. Like,
Yeah.
I like it like all making sense logically in order. So like then there's no reason for him to be like this lore expert, like a Lord of the Rings type of thing that's needed for the Rings of Power. So like I don't see much value in him. The moment for me he jumped the shark was episode 4, I think, in Ahsoka, where um where Sabine has the device and she has to make the choice. Spoiler alert.
Oh, sure.
She has to make that choice. I won't go any further in case people haven't watched it. I was hooked. That was great. And then all garbage after that
Yeah.
for me. Like totally let down, and he's like really like a JJ Abrams type of like mystery box thing, which is like too easy for Star Wars people because they get into it with all their theories and stuff, and then like nothing cool ever happens and nothing smart.
Oh, speaking of Star Wars theories, I did want to bring this up to you that the biggest Star Wars YouTuber, Star Wars theory, he's just gone full incel, right? Like he did a video with some, fake psychologist who's like, yeah, women are genetically predisposed to hate Star Wars, and he's like a big Andrew Tate guy now. Like what is happening to our culture, man? This is
Sadia Khan.
awful.
So I watched all that. I like his turn,
Yeah,
obviously,
I bet you do. But I mean, my
and
God, dude,
I
this
like her too. Uh, and she's easy on the eyes. But he did that on his other channel, so it wasn't like he's doing it on his Star Wars channel too. So like, if you don't want to, if you don't like his other channel, don't fucking watch it. It's not, but he's not like saying like this is for Star Wars. It was just because of the reaction he talks about it on his Star Wars stuff.
yeah.
I mean, he said this a million times. I don't think he goes hard enough. I don't think he's critical enough on the new Star Wars. Um, he's changed his tune to be more critical, but I don't think he's critical enough. Um, but he's getting there, and I think that's the main pushback that he gets is there's still a lot of people who love all the new stuff, and they don't like that he's talking shit about it. And like that, the controversy was the woman said women don't like Star Wars. And so she's on a podcast and she's being a little hyperbolic. She doesn't know anything about stuff. She's just saying, like, from her experience, women don't watch Star Wars.
Sure.
And like in Star Wars Theory's defense was like Bob Iger himself said this in Bob Iger's book. Like he said, like only 4% of the fans watch Star Wars. Um, and like we could look at the numbers. Like it's really low. It's
It's
mostly
actually
dudes.
it's actually higher now.
It's higher now.
They were saying this on Rebel Force Radio this last week. It's actually more like 20% now. But the point being is just that when people think of like all these fucking Star Wars nerds, it's incel people like Star Wars Theory, where it's just like, come on, dude.
I mean,
Do we have to be this way?
I doubt that guy is an incel. He's multi-millionaire.
No,
He's
but he's
a
got an incel army now.
I don't think so. But
Well, this is like the Jordan Peterson thing. Like it's the pay more attention to my words than what I actually do type thing, which is like you can say whatever you want. You can stoke the flames, but it doesn't have to impact your personal life.
and I think incel is just kind of like a nebulous term for like people I don't like nowadays. I don't think it really means anything more than that. But he like again, like he's saying that on non-Star Wars channel. She said it. He didn't. Like, but it's still she's still right. Even at 20%, I bet that's probably wrong. But even if it isn't, like that's like it's just because like superhero shit has been more trendy the last decade or whatever. So like before that, it was probably in the like 4, 5, 6% range. And it's like, who cares? Who gives a shit? I bet knitting is like 95% women. So what? Like, who
Yeah,
cares?
probably.
So, like, who gives a fuck? People are into different things. Why does everyone have to? like the same things. Like it doesn't. It's
Well,
just dumb bullshit.
it's a big thing right now because of Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is going to be directing, and so
Yeah, I'm
that,
sure
that
that show's the movie's gonna suck. I
I
bet
don't
it's gonna
know.
suck balls.
It seems like she's pretty smart. I don't know. I mean, it'll depend. It'll depend on the writing, obviously, but
I just think odds are any Disney movie now is gonna be bad, and Star Wars all is even more likely to be bad. And they just got lucky with Andor.
and the first two seasons of Mando.
Yeah, sure, fine. But like I still even judge that on like a TV show basis, not a movie basis. On a
Yeah.
movie basis,
Yeah.
it's still not Empire Strikes Back even close.
All right. Well, speaking of men that at one point you liked and were wrong to like, we did Elon, we did Star Wars Theory. We now have RFK, who has just proven himself to be the next in a long line of grifting fucking losers, man. It's just like I honestly am so steeled now to thinking that any person in a position of power means anything they say and will do anything. You know, RFK, buddy, I'm anti-war. We're gonna mine Bitcoin. I'm gonna be on steroids and incline press 95 pounds in my jeans. And nope, he's like, all right, fucking Palestine. We got to turn Palestine into a hole in the ground. You know, it's unreal. These people, dude. Even when they are given the opportunity to believe to back up something they've said before, they just turn it down at the first opportunity.
That I can't remember. He said something else too before the Palestine one,
He
but
did.
I can't remember what it was. Um, but then the Palestine one, I was like, hmm, I guess that's it. I guess that's it for me and RFK. I was like,
Has
not gonna
has
vote.
Elon has Elon said anything about Israel and Palestine?
Yeah,
I
he went over there. Like he went over there and did the whole tour of the October 7th. You know, like the baby crib and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's very used to living in an area where there is sort of, an elite people that own all the land, subjugating a smaller group of people because he's from apartheid South Africa.
Um, is that the thing that now you know that like made you go for sure? I hate RFK. Was this, or is there something else?
I didn't like him from the beginning because I
Mhm.
knew it was a lie. Because no one whose hobby is falconry and who is a legit fucking Kennedy would be like, I'm an everyman. It's just like that to me. I would the type of Democrats that I tend to like and respect more are the people who acknowledge that they are part of the oligarchy already. They are part of the liberal elite. Like if like you're never going to be a great politician, but you can exist in the framework of the fucked up way that our government works if you just acknowledge that you're part of it. Don't try and act like you're going to drain the swamp when you are a swamp monster. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he portrays himself as the everyday working class guy.
Not everyday working class, but as an outsider, as a I'm going to come in and
Okay,
I'm going to shake things up. I'm going to make things different.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough. I could see that. What about this? Like leaving RFK, your thoughts on RFK aside. What if a guy is like 95% everything you want, and then this one thing he doesn't like, or you don't like,
Sure. Sure.
right?
Easy.
Like,
If that
so,
described RFK, I would have donated
but
to him.
but
I would
doesn't
have
it?
voted for him. No, no, because
I
he's
mean, what
so
what what else besides Palestine would you? I know you think he's lying, but let's just assume he's
sure.
acting in good faith.
Sure. I mean, you're gonna roll your eyes at this, but he's like super anti-science. He doesn't believe AIDS exists. So that's a big thing because I'm big on like actual science, like nutrition and exercise science, is like my like big thing right now. So that just is pretty much an immediate no for me. And I haven't gotten real clear evidence of what his economic stuff is. Like it's mostly been, which I get, to be fair, the president's biggest impact is going to be in foreign policy. So I would like to.
Yeah,
I'm not even saying right now that I'm like 0% to vote for him. It's probably pretty unlikely. But he's got the Bitcoin thing going for him, which I like. Yeah, but I would say probably he is no more, of a Venn diagram of political positions that exist in the framework of U.S. politics now. Probably no more of an overlap of than Bernie would be. It's just a different overlapping part, right? It's just it's depending on what it is.
Yeah, I think he's Bernie, but more like JFK economics type of like, more capitalist, where the government is the referee as opposed to we got to get rid of all the deodorants, like Bernie's complained about. Like there's too many deodorants.
Yeah, but
Uh
but Bernie not would not be a Bitcoin guy, right? If there was a Bitcoin bill that came across his desk, he'd be like, yeah, fuck this. Americans can't have this.
this is just a brief aside, but like you would be like uh Bernie's so old, like I could understand, like there's no way this
Yeah.
guy's gonna be able to wrap his head. Nikki Haley with her little fucking thank you tweet. Did you see that? I made a bit tweet on
Oh
it, and
no.
she tweeted out, I love the letters, keep them coming type of tweet, from fans. And they were clearly someone typed up in their inbox and didn't press send. Like they were completely fake. Like
Yeah.
they didn't know that like any idiot knows like that was not, you didn't receive that.
Yeah.
Like you were typing that up, and the handwritten letter was in like sans font, like, and like they just readjusted it to not fit the page a little bit, but she didn't even delete it. But anyways, what is she, like 55 or somewhere, maybe even younger? She's not that old. And it's like it's just another example of these people are just empty vessel,
Nick,
unimpressive people.
yeah, I did want to bring this up specifically as it pertains to Vivek and to Nikki Haley. I find their willingness to completely disregard their culture and their upbringing to try and make themselves basically white people with different colored skin. I find that to be so disheartening that we live in a country where let's say I was a conservative. Let's say I did, that was like I did like war and I did like all this stuff or whatever, but I wasn't racist. I would find myself bummed out that I like would never have an opportunity to vote for a person of a different ethnicity or gender, even if they were the best candidate in my party, because all the other like-minded people were like, I ain't voting for someone with brown skin. Like that's crazy. Like Nikki Haley, I don't know that much about her. She might be a genius. Maybe she is the best conservative candidate. Maybe Vivek is the best conservative candidate. I would think not. He gives me like entrepreneur guy who has an entrepreneur Instagram account and is like always trying to give you like hacks on how you can grow your personal wealth vibes or whatever. But they'll never win the Republican nomination because the people who are Republicans and like enough a higher the correct percentage of people who would just never vote for someone with different colored skin. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I don't know if I believe that. I mean, I think that's more like 1990s thinking. You're also kind of conflating your arguments there. Like you started by saying they are white, they're trying to act white. And then so like, well, if they're like Nikki Haley, most people you can't even tell that she's not white. Honestly. Like she
But
changed
then
her
she but
name.
then she
She
did
basically
she
looks
did the
white.
bit. Remember she did the bit. Like this was like 2 weeks ago. She said they used like she did like they used to make fun of me in high school
Yeah,
type thing. Yeah.
she couldn't answer why the Civil War happened.
Yeah.
So she had to go on an apology tour. But and also I would say like I think Vivek owns being a Hindu. Like I've seen him talk about it. Like he could have changed to Christianity, right? Like he could have done. He could have
Yeah,
changed his name.
that is interesting. I guess I'm mostly just
And
responding
he's
to
very
all this.
brown.
Yeah, he is. I'm responding to the stuff that came out after the Iowa straw poll, which is the last time we did one of these, where it's basically like all the exit polling was like, we ain't fucking voting. We ain't voting for someone named Vivek, brother.
And
And
and Nikki
yeah.
Haley got like 44%. Like, and like people hate her. And she got 44%. So
Is
to
she
me,
is
I
she
don't
dropped out yet, or is she still
know.
running?
Not yet. Yeah, she's there for the establishment, to like if they can imprison Trump, they have they're warmonger that either way they win, you know, because they always either that way they win, you know, until Trump got in and they just misplayed that totally anyways. But yeah, like I mean, I get the can you trust Vivek? Like not like this is also coming from like a how you perceive the other team type of thing. Like you're, you know, if you perceive the other team is a bunch of snake oil, horrible people, like of course it doesn't matter who they put up there. You're just gonna be like, I don't believe it. Doesn't matter if they say everything I
I
like.
mean, I'm not playing the teams here. I don't fucking like Joe Biden and his group of people either. I mean, that's
Well,
fucking.
ideological teams, leaving party aside. So like they're not on your ideology. And if you,
I don't even like the people I do agree with ideologically. Like, find a fucking Bitcoiner that I like. I fucking hate most big Bitcoin people. I like hate them.
um, sure, but I mean, we know like perception is is a huge part in
Yeah.
how we see things, and so like if you perceive them as X, it doesn't, you know, it's really hard to kind of bust through that your prior, and so like Vivek, I could see, but I could see Vivek where it's like this guy's just, you know, car salesman type of thing, but he
Which
does
is
say
that
all
is my opinion.
he does say all the right things, like and like I think it's not race that matters as much anymore. I think it's so tribal and polarizing that, you know, Martin Luther King could win
That's
the
that's
Republican nomination if he says the right
if
stuff,
well,
and vice versa, Democrat too.
no. So I actually do think you're right. I think that is a good point. But what's so fascinating about American politics right now is that there isn't really a Republican Party. The Republican Party has no
Sure.
power and control. It's just whatever the
Yeah.
Don wants to do, you know?
Well, I think it's more they don't have a party because there's a fight between MAGA and the Republican establishment,
Yeah.
and you know
But
various
why is the
businesses that have
establishment
influence.
even fighting? They can't win.
The Republican establishment and the Democrats played Trump so poorly. I've told you this
Oh,
before.
yeah. I agree
All
with
they
you.
had to do was like, Donald Trump, you have such big muscles. You're so, you know, I bet you're a passionate lover. And he'd be like, okay, we could do Medicare for all. Like he's got no like, you know, no like principles, you know, like he's got no like
Don
political ideology.
he would basically be like what would happen if I was president. Like whoever was just like buttering me up the best that day is getting what they want, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So like I think the best thing for Republican, let's just say people on the right, forget Republican, Democrat. I think the best thing for people on the right would be if Trump's a martyr and he loses because
I mean,
it would be a bad 4 years for them in their
we
mind.
already did that.
Yeah, but like this would like kill him. You know what I mean? Like he goes to jail. You know, like a true martyr.
He's not going to jail.
No, I'm not saying he is. I'm saying the best outcome. They think it's him winning. I think it's him losing and going to jail for a short time or whatever, because then he'll be a martyr forever.
How much
And it
time
would,
does this dude have left? He's in his 70s and has like herpes.
well, martyrs are forever, even when you die.
So what
That's
okay, wait. You're losing me a little bit.
yeah,
Him being martyred is best for whomst.
for the right.
Okay. Because why?
So because it'll motivate them to get someone who will actually change things in there. Because he's not changing anything. Like we have 4 years of evidence. This is my
Oh,
opinion.
sure.
Maybe he will. I know
Yeah.
this is supposed to be the vengeful Trump coming in and firing everyone and arresting people. I There's no evidence of that. I would like that. I would love if he came in there and arrested a whole bunch of people I don't like. And you know, he put Vivek as his VP and they got rid of 75% of government employees because they I've
I
worked
don't know
there.
if you
You
I
could
don't know if
easily
you'd
get rid of
really want to
75%. At least 75% of those employees are doing nothing right now. I guarantee it.
they're
I
probably
worked
listening to this
there.
podcast.
They're probably listening. Like, yeah, he's right. I work like 15 minutes a day.
Um,
So like if he's a martyr and the next guy who gets in could actually be a radical and actually do some change. Because I
Don't
think,
you don't you
and
feel
here's another
like
thing too: if
the
Trump wins, the economy could tank. They'll blame it on him. It could flip flop really easily. They're just gonna shriek, and the media's gonna go crazy. Their ratings are gonna go up. Um, so like I could see from a righty standpoint though, they're like, we're losing the country. We can't have 4 more years of this immigration, et cetera, et cetera. Like if you could think from their mind that even we have to have them, right? But I would hold my breath that anything would happen with him getting in there, and it'd be more. Now I think obviously the polls are saying he's going to win, and
well, he is gonna win.
he's a pretty big favorite at this point. So yeah, I think he does get in there, barring who knows what can happen from now until then. It's a crazy world we live in. So I think it's unlikely. I think he does get in there. But I do not think this retribution tour is going to happen.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's gonna win, but he's not gonna do any of that. He's gonna win, and it's gonna be you're not gonna be able to tell it's any different than Joseph Robinette Biden running the country, really.
Yeah, it'll be very different. Like he'll probably like just because the whole country's so over this immigration stuff, they'll probably do something on that. Um, maybe there'll be less wars. That's good.
What
Um,
is I actually don't know because I don't have a Truth Social account. What is the Don stance on Israel and Palestine?
well, he's pro-Israel. He's a
Yeah,
big
see,
time.
so he's no different. He's gonna keep the IDF with whatever they need.
That money will keep rolling. It'll probably go up. It'll probably go up under Trump.
Yeah, so
Um,
what's the fucking point, man?
well, I bet Ukraine, Russia war,
Oh
Korea,
yeah. Well, no,
maybe
I
he'll
mean,
pull. There's a chance he'll pull out of like all the bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, all that shit that's causing so many problems. Like, there's some chance of that.
old Tucker Carlson is there in Russia, negotiating the peace treaty with Putin right now.
That's right. Yeah.
You
Whatever.
want
I don't
to you want to talk about evidence that your favorite talking head is a psyop? You really don't need to go any further than Tucker Carlson going to the fucking Russian opera. I mean, just unbelievable shit, dude.
care. You think he's working for the feds?
No, I think that someone who watches Tucker Carlson would be like, yeah, dude, Tucker Carlson tells it like it is. And like, dude, Tucker Carlson and all these people and whoever the left, I don't know, whoever the left analog is to Tucker Carlson is also, a paid shill by the fucking seed oil industry or whatever. Big canola oil is telling you to be a vegan. Like that's such a thing right now. So, there's this new documentary about how good it is to be vegan. You are what you eat. It's like, brother, you don't need to eat fucking regurgitated slop. You don't need to eat fake vegan bullshit. And you also don't need to watch Tucker Carlson. Whatever Tucker Carlson's telling you to do, he don't have your best interest at heart either.
I mean, I do think we live in this kind of new paradigm of you just have to pick your favorite people you trust and kind of get the news from them, and branch off, a little bit and stuff. But I think that's basically where the world's going is you just pick who you like, who you
I don't
trust, who
trust
you think's smart.
I don't trust anyone, but I do get to stay up on right-wing talking points via chatting with you. Whatever the Liberty Bros and these people are out there saying, I can keep up on that with you. And then all my leftist podcast hosts, are out there. I get to know whatever the super libs think too.
Yeah, yeah. I need to follow some more libs because I noticed like when I talk to like normies, like my parents or whatever,
Yeah.
um, they'll like because like this one I didn't know, like in leftist circles, Trump has dementia.
Yes.
I didn't know that one. I'm like I don't like, I'm not a Trump guy, but like I don't see dementia. Like, and maybe it's just because you got to find the right clips that make him look the absolute worst, and then they just get shared in those circles a ton. Um, like Biden, in righty circles, like you can't go a day without seeing Biden stumble on words or, meander like a senile
Yeah.
old man on a stage. It's like a new clip every single day. And so, but I imagine you could do a lot of those for Trump too. And it's just so I must not be following enough lefty people. But like, I mean, I honestly I don't even care. Like I said, I don't think it really matters who gets elected at the federal level much, anyways. I do not think much will change unless you get a radical, like this is Michael Malice said this years ago. Like the left thinks um, Trump is the flood, but he's actually the dam. And so like I totally see
Oh,
that.
sure.
Like Trump,
Yeah.
you could be 10 years from now, not you, Davis, but like whoever, the shrieking lefty could be begging for Trump in 10 years from now.
That
You know what I mean?
seems likely. I would say more because they're Trump is the first layer, but the true like white supremacists, like super right-wing people, that is, like the real nationalist. Like Trump is not a nationalist, he's a populist, but the real sort of scary nationalist people, that's not even the next layer. That's probably two layers away from what Trump is.
Right. Yeah, those are the like I don't think they're scary, honestly, but um like
You
that
don't
is
think
what
nationalism is so stupid. I mean, just to the idea of being a nationalist is so dumb.
why is that?
You literally are just an idiot. You just happen to be born out of chance in this country, and what you decide you love it. Like
Well, I mean,
it's literally an accident, and you're gonna
if I
wrap your whole life up in being like, yeah, I'm a fucking American. I'm a German. You
if I was
you
born and like my dad gave me, $10 million, I just shouldn't give it away.
I'm not saying that,
Because I
but
got lucky that I was just born randomly in this
you
body
could
and
have
I got
been
ten
you could
million
have been
dollars.
born in fucking Zimbabwe. What you would have
I
been
know,
you
it
would have been
doesn't
a
mean I should give
Zimbabwe
my money to
nationalist.
Zimbabweans or whatever they're called.
But the point is, it is like, oh, I'm gonna define a national identity. This is what it means to be an American. This is what it means to be a Canadian. It's so stupid.
But I think just recognizing you got lucky and got the $10 million inheritance and you're going to try to do the best with it, not just squander it and give it away, makes just as much an analogy for nationalism as saying that you got randomly lucky. But like, why give it away? Like, why give away the country and say like, there's no country, it's all random. What sperm you were. You got lucky, so you should make the best of it. Don't waste it.
This is not a convincing argument to me at all. You can there are a lot of things you can do with your life or as a country do with your political structure that has nothing to do with nationalism as it has existed for the last 150 years or whatever.
Sure, there's a lot of things you could do, but like just the idea of a nation, we'd also have to define like what we think nationalism is. But the idea of a nation, I would just say it's like, America first is the new nationalism. So like instead of giving aid to Israel, you spend it here. And instead of open borders, it's closed borders. Instead of free trade, it's like selective trade, tax cuts for businesses that spend the money here, that employ manufacturing here. That's what I see as nationalism.
Don't you don't you like free trade? Wouldn't that be
I'm
your
just
thing?
defining how I think they call it, what they think. I'm not saying what I
So
want.
I more think of nationalism in a historical sense, how it's been used and like I guess how a historian would write about it, where it's used by politicians to whip up fervor. And I'm saying this is true in like ancient Rome. This is true in, post Saxon Britain. All of this is true with Nazi Germany, with World War I, with the Slavic peoples. Like basically it's a tool to convince dumb idiots that you can return them to a past that was better, that never really existed. When people say America first, what they're thinking of is the post World War II boom, right? I mean, that's really that is sort of the platonic ideal of America that everyone has, right? Low crime, everyone has a job, yada yada, so on and so forth. Like that is the idyllic past that people want to return to.
I think you're conflating populism and nationalism.
You can't really have populism without nationalism.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think nationalism's more how I just defined it, and populism is then more like this political, like, because you could use populism for lefty ideas, you could use populism for the nationalist ideas, you could use
Well,
populism.
there's been plenty of lefty populists.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think the way you just described nationalism is more describing populism for kind of that wing. But I think nationalism is more the way I described it. Could we go back to RFK for a second?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
He is trying to get the Libertarian Party ticket. Did you see this?
No.
So this is interesting. So he apparently the Democratic Party has made it extremely hard for him to get on the ballots in, like, I think he can only get on like 35, if that, or something like that. Because basically you kind of got to pay for it, and they changed the rules. So like the Libertarian Party might not even get on the New York ballot. So this will be like the first time in decades that they're not on all 50 states, because they changed the rules in New York. Like New York's just going full rogue, man. Um, they what it was before is if you run a gubernatorial candidate and he gets X amount of votes, you're on the ticket. And Larry Sharp, who's been on like Rogan and stuff, has always run for governor on the Libertarian ticket in New York and got the requisite votes. And then they changed the rules. So now I guess they have to spend like 300 grand or 400 grand getting petitions and getting more stuff to get on there. They might end up doing it. But anyways, the reason he wants to be on the Libertarian ticket isn't because clearly he's not a Libertarian, right? Is because they have 50 state ballot access if they get back on New York. He's not going to win New York anyways, probably. But he's not a Libertarian. And the Libertarians were just, the party anyways, was just taken over, if you want to say, by the Mises Caucus guys. So like the Mises Caucus guys are, the more pure kind of anarcho-capitalists, Rothbardian libertarians, Mises libertarians, like that Bitcoin bros would generally like more.
Yeah.
They don't care about like the social libertarian stuff, like gay rights and open borders and stuff like that. They're more like private property rights, consent, non-aggression principle, and economics, Misesian economics, that type of stuff. So, anyways, needless to say, I doubt Kennedy has read any Mises, except maybe he has, though. The guy does seem pretty well read, whether he believes any of this stuff or not. So so Dave Smith and Scott Horton, probably the two biggest Libertarian Party personalities, both have publicly denounced him, and they don't want him in the party. So he went on Dave Smith's podcast, and you should watch this. You'd probably enjoy it. And they debated Israel and Palestine for an hour. And then in this, Kennedy asked Dave Smith twice if he wants to be his vice president.
And Dave Smith is the anarcho-capitalist
He's a
Mises guy.
pure pure ANCAP with a big following, and everyone wanted him to run for president of the Libertarian Party, but he's got like two young kids. He didn't want to do it. So, and then the head, Angelo McCardle, the head of the LP, tweeted out yesterday, Dave Smith's going to make a big announcement today, and he never did. So who knows what's going on in the back there? But previously, Libertarian issue the reason the Mises Caucus took over and won is because they kept running candidates like Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, who are like Republican light.
Yeah.
Right? They're not Misesian libertarians.
Was Ross Perot a libertarian, or was he just full independent?
Yeah, independent. He like, because like, if you say like, I want free trade or something, it's like, oh, they're libertarian on free trade. It's like, yeah, but he's not a libertarian. Like Kennedy's probably a free trade guy, so, but he's not a libertarian. So what was I gonna say? So yeah, I think he's really trying to get on the Libertarian ticket. Oh yeah, Bill Weld and Gary Johnson were like Republican light, and so like the Mises people are like, we're taking over, no more of this Republican bullshit. Like we want, like Bill Weld endorsed Hillary Clinton after they lost.
Yeah,
And so it's like that's not libertarian, bro. Like think what you want, but you shouldn't be running on this ticket because the whole
sure.
idea is to like just get the ideas out there and hopefully they spread. Like that's all they could do it because they have 0% chance of winning. So the idea is let's just put this pure candidate out there, let the ideas speak for themselves, and
Yeah.
hopefully it takes over. So now after they won, they might pick a Democrat for the libertarian ticket, and it's crazy. And like it sounds like Tim Pool and other big media people, who aren't libertarians, are like think it's a good idea for Kennedy to get on this ticket. Just
I mean,
because they
it's
like,
definitely a better idea. He has a greater chance of winning more votes and spreading the ideas of that are important to him on a libertarian ticket than he does on a Democrat or Republican ticket.
yes, like these days he's probably closer to a libertarian than a Democrat. Um, but like,
I'm probably more likely to vote for him as a third party libertarian than I would be to vote for him in the Democratic primary.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he could get 15% of the vote.
That seems very high. That's 15% of the primary vote.
No, that it wouldn't be primary. There'd be no primary. It would just be the federal election. Trump, Biden, Kennedy. And
15%. I would short that. I would book you the other way on 15% is a lot of fucking people, man.
yeah, no, that's my high end, but the polls are showing that he's like in that 12 to 18% range.
Yeah, here's the thing. The polls, they're not there yet because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, we don't have the Chiefs haven't won the Super Bowl yet, and Taylor Swift hasn't put out her Joe Biden tweet yet.
What if they lose because Pat Mahomes Sr. got his third DUI, and then Taylor dumps Kelsey and starts dating RFK?
Well, I thought you were gonna say
Um,
starts dating Barron Trump. That could you want to there I saw
she wants a tall guy.
she does. I saw a tweet yesterday that said that basically pollsters are guessing that Taylor Swift could swing about a fifth of the electoral. Like whatever she says, if she says this is my guy, that either way, either if she doesn't say anything or if she does endorse Biden, that it could swing like 15-20% of the vote.
He lost by like 45,000 votes in the key states, right? In the swing states last time. She could easily get 45,000 votes. I
Well,
don't
and
know
think
about
about
this,
think
those
about
important states, but
but think about also people who are like kind of unlikely to vote, like a fucking
yeah,
19-year-old
your old Swifty.
sophomore at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
Taylor Swift says you got to do this for me.
Yeah.
I
University
I
of
and
Madison,
I
Michigan
I I
State.
I think that is I think that is like literally I think it's true. I mean, I actually do think that that's one of those cases where the pollsters are correct. I mean, her fans are fucking nuts, dude. They're nuts. She's the most popular person in North America. She has to be.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got the most followers, right?
I think Messi and Ronaldo have more
Oh,
total
okay.
followers than her, but
Yeah. Well,
Messi
it's
doesn't
not it's
Messi
not
doesn't
just
say
that.
anything. Messi
No
doesn't
one
speak English.
no one's going to war for Messi. These Swifties, they'll
That
go
is
to war.
that is not true.
Is it? Well, maybe I just don't know enough about
If
soccer.
if if if
No one's
Messi
going to war for Pat Mahomes. No one's going
oh,
to
I
war.
would. I see.
No, you
I would
wouldn't.
do anything Pat said. And Pat says it, I'm doing it, dude. I do not care. I like Pat so much that if he was an Under Armour athlete, I might even wear Under Armour, which is like the
So if he
grossest
wants you to join
clothing.
the Israeli defense, you're flying over there tomorrow, huh?
Oh, maybe not. All right, maybe not.
um, but so like of course I think that's gonna matter. But like if Kennedy gets on there, I think it hurts Trump more than it hurts
Oh yeah,
Biden.
because your 27-year-old disaffected finance bro friend who like
who's
He's
normally liberal, but can't vote for these new liberals.
Yeah, yeah. He could maybe vote for Trump as like a fuck you, like my dad wants to vote for Biden. I ain't voting for that motherfucker. He might vote for Trump, but he's way more likely to vote for RFK if they're both there on the ticket.
Me 10 years ago, I might have pulled the trigger for Kennedy.
I had a couple buddies who voted for Jill Stein last time.
Yeah.
That would be and they would probably never vote for Trump, but they would definitely vote for RFK.
Yeah, I think I also though think there's going to be a bunch of like DeSantis announced
Oh,
that he
little Rob. Poor guy.
he's got those boots. He's taller when he's in the boots. Um, when DeSantis announced he's withdrawing, but his name was still on the New Hampshire ticket, he got like 1,500 votes, maybe even 2,500 votes, which is a lot in the primary. With Trump only got like 50,000 or something like that. I can't remember, but the point being is like people aren't paying attention nearly as closely as we are, and we're not even paying attention like that closely. So like if you give me a 78-year-old and they see Robert Kennedy's on the ticket and they're not paying attention and they're classically liberal, a lot of them are going to pull that lever too. So that would
Yeah.
hurt. Biden. So he
Yes.
definitely hurts
Yeah.
them both. I just think it's a little bit more Trump.
Little Well, yeah, just because there's a group of people who would only vote for Trump as a fuck you, and maybe they think that the Kennedy thing is fuck you. But now, you know
That too.
what? This is a little bit of the argument that people were making for Ron DeSantis, which is like Ron DeSantis is a serious conservative, and it's like no one fucking cares. There's no such thing in America as an intellectual conservative anymore. It's not really such thing as an intellectual person who's really into politics in general,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, none of
So
these people
so
are.
the whole idea that DeSantis is electable because he's a serious, like, no one votes that way. That's not the way politics works. Like Ron DeSantis having to drop out after one fucking primary or one caucus is like obviously that was going to happen. He's like the least likable person of all time. Like
I was a little surprised how poorly he ran his campaign. And like even now, after he's dropped out, like he'll
what
do
did
some
you, what did you
speeches
think was
where
going to happen?
I didn't think he was gonna win. I just like I was gonna bet. I tweeted this out. I would bet him. The odds were like 18-1 to win the primary, and I thought those were good odds. But then when they got to 3-1, I would have sold that ticket.
Sure.
And then I said that I did one of Blender's pods and said like if I still had that ticket, I would sell it at 3-1 because I don't think he's gonna win. But I didn't think he'd do that poorly, right? So there's two different things. I'm not saying I thought he would win. I just didn't think I thought he would run it back. I thought he'd be able to handle himself better on the debate stage because like he was pretty combative with and knowledgeable with the reporters during the COVID era. And so like he knew all his stats, right? Like he knew what they were going to ask him and quickly defended him. It was very, aggressively combative, but in gubernatorial way. It wasn't like insulting them and everything. So, but like when he was on the debate stage, he looked like very robotic and not personable. When he was, and they some of it was like just bad framing and pictures and stuff like that. But he spent like $200 million and got fucking smoked. Guy didn't even debate. Trump didn't even debate. Didn't even go to the debates,
Didn't even
and he
have to, man.
still got smoked.
Yeah, didn't even have to debate him because he could just say. I mean, the whole thing was going to be over the second he called him Little Rob. So why even get on the stage?
Right. Yeah. Here's another thing too, is this guy, like I said, was usually prepared for these press conferences to be him versus the reporters.
Yeah,
How are you not prepared for Ron DeSanctimonious, Little Ron,
right.
all they're coming. How do you got 6 months
Little Ron. That shit is
to,
so funny.
to
God,
work
it
for
just
your
cracks me
team
up
and
every
figure out
time.
a way to come up with an idea to come at, and he had nothing. So like it was that surprised me. Like how do you not? And he went like he had like the neocons advising him and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
like, bro, it's not 2004 anymore. Like these guys, everyone hates these guys, even your side. Like you should not like listen to a word they're saying. Like he did so bad. I don't know if you've been hearing this, but like a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they always mention the odds, the election odds,
Yeah.
and like in this conspiratorial way, like did you see Michelle Obama? She dropped down to third. Now she's the third most likely to win the presidential nomination. She went from 500 to 1 to whatever, 10 to 1.
Sure.
And what does Vegas know that we don't know? And I just want like one real gambler to like talk to these people and explain to them like this is a boutique market on an offshore tiny retail book.
Yeah, they don't get it.
And it means absolutely nothing. You can move that line with like $500 in bets probably. And there's no liquidity whatsoever. We should legalize it here because it'd be great polling information. People could actually glean some useful information out of it. But like they like it's constantly getting referenced. Like, oh my God, the Vegas insiders know that the Michelle Obama fix is in.
So I mean, that's just, but like, so it's so funny you mention that because that obviously that's not only something that like these people misunderstand, but even people in gambling misunderstand things like that. Like they
Yeah,
read into like someone who should know better, like a lot of the people who are involved at a TV level, like big TV, like Fox, ESPN and stuff, have no fucking clue how betting market works at all. Like you just have these people going on TV, like, they're not even mentioning odds. They're like, yeah, you just take this number, like whatever. We got the Boston Scott anytime touchdown at plus 200 against the Giants. Like no one fucking, it's just we're a math a little illiterate country. I'm not even good at math. I'm fucking stupid. I barely know math, and I am above average at understanding gambling odds, which is not a positive for me. That is a con for our country, big time.
yeah. I saw something about the like curriculum up until like sixth grade in the 1950s and 60s. And it's like they were learning like you had to like know how to like draw maps by memory like just like way harder than it is now. Um, which I'm always skeptical of these like IQ tests where they show like the country's getting smarter and smarter. I think this was like the last like 5 or 10 years where the test went down for the first time in like recorded history. But
Yikes.
like there's like the education system is in shambles. Like let's I mean, they have, they have this, this term, but I'm blanking on what's it called, uh, the competency crisis. And like I could see, there's a whole lot to it, but I could definitely see the, um, the education system as like a perfect example of like, like you're gonna be driving after you get your wheel changed and the wheel falls off. Like just like smaller things as the competency level of people drops, the more and more dangerous it gets to have other people, service your car, fly your planes, uh, fix your planes, et cetera, et cetera. Like kind of, like signs of like a failing empire.
Decline and fall of the decline. Have you read Gibbon, Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire?
Is that yes, I think I have. Is that like
I,
the
n-
real?
I never have.
Yeah, I've read one. I read the Rise and Fall. No, I read the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. I read one thick ass Roman one, but I watch so much Roman YouTube that I've consumed, countless books.
Yeah, you forgot how to read though, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. I can't read anymore. Just listen. But
I'm
like
on Go
we
ahead.
could be in like BC Rome, right? Like they went from um a king for 300 years to a democracy for what, like 400 years
Yeah.
to Caesar, to Julius Caesar for, 1800 years or 1500 years.
I am on episode, let's see here. Episode 153 of the history of Rome. So I'm at the fall of the Roman Empire. Shit has been going downhill. And it is sort of remarkable how much you're like, man, times that change and they don't change that much. It's like the stuff that these idiot because you and I both will make jokes about kings and stuff sometimes, right? And you really see the downfall of having a bloodline monarchy set up when you look at the fall of the Roman Empire, because there are just one, you have idiots who just get in charge all the time, and then two, it just ends up being the thing that always happens throughout human history is it just ends up being contentious. If there's not just one clear kid who was the man, like you have like good king has a good son who is not an idiot, fine. Any other outcome than that, either his sons are idiots, he doesn't have a son, his son goes somewhere else, his son marries someone he shouldn't have married, just like whatever, it ends up being a huge fucking mess.
Yes, I would argue that that's inevitable, no matter what system you're in. So, like, if you have the benevolent king, dictator, monarch, whatever,
Yeah.
they're gonna die eventually, and there's no guarantee whoever comes next is going to be good. But this is kind of the Hoppian idea of incentives and consequences, where at least the king owns the property, so wants to accumulate wealth and
Yeah.
pass it on to their kids, so they have a long time horizon. They have a low time preference.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're a politician who's elected every 2 years and not going to stay in office and eventually get a job at Halliburton, you just will print billions of dollars and give it to the military industrial complex like this over and over and over again, because it's no cost to you, and who gives a shit? It's not your shit.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, from that perspective, yeah, you're right. There's no guarantees, but there's no guarantees under any system. And also, if you count the Byzantine Empire, like, 1600 years is a nice fucking run.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do not count the Byzantine Empire because
Okay, don't. And then it's still 450 years.
yeah, 400 years, which were,
Yeah. If you count, I mean,
we got some
almost
time
500.
left. Yeah.
But yeah, and like, most of those emperors though weren't kin.
Yeah, they killed someone.
They killed someone and took
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So, but like, it's still like in the interest of that
Which
guy.
you could argue, though, by the way, that a lot of the kings who killed someone were the smart ones because they had to do so in a way that they had to politically maneuver themselves beforehand so that it would be accepted when they took over the empire.
Right. Well, exactly. Like, usually you can't have a king. So, like, that's what I think would happen here. Is it wouldn't be the way the lefties think of Donald Trump. Like, he's going to come in and take over and we don't want it. And it's going to be horrible because all of us are going to hate it. But he's going to use the mighty power of the government to crack down on all us poor lefties.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. Most of the bureaucracy is lefty in Washington, D.C. The army probably will disobey him. They disobeyed him when he was president last time, when he wanted to withdraw from Syria, and they said okay, and they just didn't. So, like, it's not gonna but will happen is everyone will get sick of whatever's going on, including a lot of lefties, and they'll be cheering the person in. And then when Saturday Night Live is praising him, whoever this person is, when the mainstream media is singing his praises, that's when he or she, I guess, but obviously I think it would mainly, this type of thing would be a male, would take power. And so, like, all this stuff is fairy tale land. I think we're mainly, there's a YouTuber, Academic Agent. His theory is we're going to go back to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He thinks we're not, like, people are sick of woke stuff, generally speaking, and but there's not going to be some radical change. They'll just kind of go back a few, 10 years, 20 years, and then it'll just repeat. And it'll just be like a containment kind of like the current lefty progressive hegemony.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's fairly likely. Like, did you
I mean,
see?
there is kind of this argument right now that exists that that's kind of already happening in sports. Like, when's the last time you remembered like a big politics story in sports? They don't put Black Lives Matter in the end zones anymore.
I mean, the knee, right? The Kaepernick.
No, wrong.
What? What's the? Tell me. You pay attention more than I do. What's the last big story?
I mean,
Political
I
story.
guess the last big one. I mean, remember the
Are we
NBA?
counting Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift?
No, I'm saying politics and sports. So basically, during COVID, it was a big deal. We had all the athletes getting the vaccine. I mean, the night George Floyd got murdered by that cop, the Bucks said we're not playing. Said we're not playing. We're
Okay,
out.
there we go. There, yes, that for sure. That counts. If Taylor Swift does end up voting, doing a whole Biden thing, like on the Super Bowl or the day before the Super Bowl, I think that counts as political. We'll see how that goes.
But sports coverage in general, right? So sports
Yeah.
coverage is just not really that. For a while, it was very political, right? Every game we had like I mean, actually, funnily enough, if you watch the games right now, like the NFL, they still have those little placards on the back of their helmet, end racism,
Oh, I didn't even notice
love
that.
love everyone, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but and
Well,
actually now, so for example, which is so funny, the people who are like, you gotta end wokeness, no more politics in our sports, like Outkick, right? Like Whitlock and Clay Travis,
mhm.
their platform is doing awful right now because for a while people did like it as rage bait, where it was like, oh, I can get my rage bait about all these woke libs in my sports. But now that you can just turn on ESPN and no one's trying to woke lib you, why do I need to get mad about Outkick? I don't need to I don't turn on First Take and get a lecture about racism anymore. I just, I get to hear about how Clay Thompson is done. So
Oh,
there's no reason to get mad and click on Outkick anymore.
I thought while you were saying that, I did think of another political one.
Yeah,
NHL gay jerseys, gay pride jerseys.
sure. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So that
political,
was
and that was
about, that was
that was
about, that was about
recent.
a year ago.
But then they did it again, and to your defense, if you're claiming that the temperature of that stuff's gone down on ESPN, um, they didn't make a big deal on it this time. Because Ivan, what's his name, Provorov, whatever, the Russian defensive player, he refused to wear it, so they tried to get him, canceled, but this time they didn't. So yeah, the containment, like go back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air age.
Yeah.
Yes, because I don't watch ESPN. The only time I ever see ESPN is in the gym, and it doesn't have the audio on.
So same. I like every morning, it's on Fox Sports and that stuff is always on. Like literally our sauna actually has Get Up. That's the one that LoLzCast on? No, doesn't matter. But I do
Yeah.
always I don't get to see it with the audio, but I do always see it. And the storylines now are it's never not once, Steve Kerr gives this eloquent speech about race relations in America. It never, not
Oh,
like
really?
I can't remember the last time that I saw a like actual political matter on any of these shows for any reason.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Because they just the you could. He also has a bet with another YouTuber that he thinks that it's going back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like within a year and a half to 2 years, and they have a
Yeah.
bet like the movies they'll stop making, you know, they'll stop making the classic white character black or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, or gay or something like that. They're gonna go back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and just where no one cared about race as much and just watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type of shows. Um,
Oh, I
I
had a
think
point on that I wanted remind me of that point because I had a point
okay.
I wanted to bring up to you about that.
Well, I'm almost done anyways, but I would just say like your ESPN point sounds right. I don't watch it as much, but Netflix and all them, they're not relenting yet. Like it's still, the Little Mermaid, she has to be a black woman type of stuff.
I got fucking signed out of my in-laws Netflix last night. I'm so pissed off. I was like halfway through a show and I can't fucking log in. I am not paying for Netflix, dude. It's like $20 a month now. I'm not doing it.
Shit. You want mine?
It's gonna do the same thing. It's because
Oh, really?
it's geotagged now so close that it can tell. Now it's not city, it's not So it's literally they can tell what fucking ISP you're on.
They're cracking down.
They're really cracking down.
Yeah.
It's really fucking annoying. Anyways, this is the point I wanted to bring up. So Dune 2 is coming out.
Right.
And so I just rewatched the first one the other night. Um, and I realized that this movie was made before the real woke outcry, where people started crying woke about everything. Um, and one of the primary characters, a character who's very important in the books, character who's very important in the movies, in the books is, a white guy, is basically just like someone from the Empire. And in the movie, it's a black woman. The same character. They just change a couple things, and no one cared. No one. There was no to my memory. There was
It's because
no.
no one read the book.
No, I think it's because the movie was so good. I think it's to your
Oh,
point. I think it's to your point that people don't care about that shit.
yeah.
If it's a good
If it's
movie, you
good,
can
no one
do all the
cares.
representation you want. You
Right.
can include anyone if the final product is good, and if the final product is bad, then people feel more upset about it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I go back and read some incel chatter, they would be mad about it, but I don't think so.
There's always going to be somebody. Don't get me. No one is hyperbole. There are small cases. So like this is the one I always use. Like if I get in a discussion with this with buddies, like Moana, the Disney movie about the Eastern Islands or whatever, the Philippine island type of thing, where it's
Yeah.
supposed to be like the history of their mythos. Like, would it be okay if you just put like an Irish freckled redhead as the lead character in that? Like, no, it wouldn't be. It doesn't make any sense, right? You can't just put an Irish redhead. Doesn't make. First of all, she would get burnt, sunburnt. It doesn't make any sense, and no one would want that. Like, because this is a mythos. But then you go, if the person leans that direction, okay, well, what if they did that in Lord of the Rings? They made a black elf with a Don Lemon shaved haircut. Like, where are they getting this type of haircut in that time period? It makes no sense. Tolkien said like that. This is what the race looks like. It doesn't make any sense. And they're like, oh, that's only 100 years old. And then you tell them, well, Moana's actually fake. It's not a mythos. Like just two white guys wrote that movie. It's not real. It's not like their culture at all. Right. And then it kind of breaks through this this mirage. But anyways, I would say if it was, even if it's not like 1,000 years old, it makes no sense to put a freckled Viking girl in the lead role if they made like a live action movie or if they made it even
Well, a
redid the
Viking
cartoon.
girl wouldn't have freckles.
Okay, fine. Irish girl.
The Celtic people and the Norse people are very different people, right?
Not really after
Yeah,
they
I'm getting
invaded
my
them.
I'm getting my white supremacy on. I just sounded like a guy. I just sounded like a 4chan
Yeah.
commenter right
Speak of
there.
the rise and fall of the Third Reich, we're gonna have
Yeah.
it right
Oh,
here.
Jesus.
Um,
I mean, honestly, to be honest, I never process any of that shit when I'm watching any of these things. It's never just not really, unless it's like specifically, unless the character has to be a certain race for like a plot point, I just don't really care.
right, like that's why I brought up Moana. You can't not be like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to
But
be
the
4,000
the
BC.
black elf with the Don Lemon haircut, he's fine. I
You
don't
that
care.
didn't that didn't but that's also too because it was talked about before you even watched it. So I don't know about that, but I like I got over it like really fast. I don't care. It's just like if you're a Tolkien purist,
I'm a
all
pretty Tolkien purist. I've read all these books. But
yeah,
it just
but like
doesn't really
every
care.
person's different. I'm just saying from a Tolkien purist standpoint, I get it, and that's why I used the Moana example of defending there. If somebody who's like, listen, I don't care, but it doesn't make any fucking sense, just like it wouldn't make any sense in this example. Um, so like I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like of like saying like this doesn't make any sense based on the storybook. And also I think that's different than Dune. Um Dune's not like a mythos. So like then we start getting into territory where like I don't think it really matters to change it. But
No,
anyways, we're getting
no,
off.
Dune, first of all, Dune is a mythos. Second of all, this character, this Liet Kynes character is spoiler alert, if you've never read the books. So this person is the father of the woman who has children with Paul, right? So that actually is going to impact literally
Wait,
what these
she's the father?
well, the male character is the father of Chani in the books, but obviously in the movies it's going to be this female character was the mother of Chani.
Is that the girl he meets at the end?
Yeah, the desert
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's cute.
That's no. Zendaya
Ah,
to me, not she looks
okay.
like she's like 17 years old. No,
Racist. Um,
not for me. But the point is that it actually does have some sort of implications, but no one really cares, you know.
right. Yeah, yeah,
All the people in 1984 Dune, the Lynch movie, they were all white.
yeah.
Everyone was white in 1984 Dune.
Well, so this is another one I was watching the first episode of I can't remember the name, but the World War II Apple show that just came out. It's something with
Tom
King in the
Hanks like
title.
directed it, right?
And supposedly the guys who did Band of Brothers are doing it, and Tom Hanks' name's attached to it.
Okay.
And I always think of like people think that like woke era of like 2016 and later. I think 2002 was kind of the end because that was when Band of Brothers came out, and like
2002 was the end of what?
just the last 70 years of Americana. Like
Sure.
I think everything changed kind of after 2002. It's not like it's gradual, and then how did you go broke? Gradually, then suddenly. Like I think it was, and then after 2002, it's kind of gradual, and then it's just people noticing. Obviously, there's stuff going way back before 2002, but like I was thinking, this is before the show came out, like they would never make Band of Brothers again because it's all white dudes.
Yeah, I've never
Like it's
even
kind of
seen it.
hard to make that movie now. Um,
Well, couldn't some of the characters just be like an Asian American, African American? Like, could, right?
well, the problem is the Band of Brothers is like it's based on reality, like it's based on documented history, and there was no Asian dudes flying, and it was in the 101.
Well, yeah,
101st.
but your average fucking person doesn't know that. It's not going to take them out of it, probably.
Sure, sure. Listen. They would make half of them black. That wouldn't shock me at all. I'm just saying, in 2002, no one gave a shit. In
Sure.
the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air era, no one cared. No one cared that the entire cast of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was black, and no one cared that Band of Brothers existed. In fact, it was really popular, super popular. Also, like it made a ton of money on CDs, which I think kind of killed the movie industry when they lost that income of after the movie came out 6 months later, they released the CD and get a whole bunch more money. And that's where HBO made their money on Band of Brothers was the CD sales. That all went away, right? Napster, right? Music changed. And then the culture started shifting too. And so, but I think I like pinpoint to like if you look at all the movies around that era, like in like slightly before that, like it's just not they're not happening anymore. They're not going to do as many of those like Goodwill Hunting type of movies, stuff like that. Um, and just the world is just completely different. And also, there was no cell phones
Yeah,
really. There
but
was, but not.
art is always going to be reflective of the time, though. You know. So
Sure, sure.
if people aren't making these things, there's probably a reason for it. I mean, what about was there woke representation politics in Napoleon? Probably not. Probably what there
Yeah,
was.
they say there was like they say he was a
I haven't
cuck.
seen it.
I haven't either, but I've seen the criticisms of it. That he was a cuck and he would listen and do whatever his wife said is the criticisms I've seen that like the anti-woke criticisms. I don't know.
Sure.
I haven't seen it, but
Was there representation complaints about Oppenheimer? I don't think so, right?
no, but again, when the movie's good, no one cares.
Yeah, fuck, that movie was so goddamn good. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you make it good, it doesn't matter. I'm not like, even like my statement about 2002 is not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying I think that like that 70-year period of American uh, like culture is pretty much over. And we're not going back. Like I think we'll maybe this Fresh Prince of Bel Air idea does happen, but it won't be like that. It'll be, it'll be a watered down version of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it sounds like you're doing a little bit of like Pepperidge Farm remembers type shit, where it's like everything was better when I was 27.
No, I just said, I'm not saying which way's better or worse. I mean, I clearly have a preference, but I don't think that matters to like just get this point out of there was just like this. We all kind of grew up the same way. There was no cell phones, there was no computers, laptop. There was none of this. There's no Wikipedia. You know, the culture is completely different, and the media and content was completely different. Um, and everyone kind of like, if you grew up in the 70s, you grew up the same way I did, basically. But now it's completely, fucking the amount of porn everywhere, like shit like that. When I was younger, you had to like track down some porn. Like maybe your buddy's older brother had something, like now
See, I,
these
I
kids.
was raised, I think almost ideally because I didn't have screens too much when I was a kid. I played outside a lot, but I did get to start playing video games when I was in high school and college. Like almost perfect, Like I had a good, come home, be home before the streetlights are off childhood, but also got to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the PlayStation 2, which is just like that. That is like a perfect marriage right there.
Yeah, that's true. I was playing baseball stars, but we also got to stay out later than you did, right? Like
I mean,
we
I
would.
I lived in a I lived in a small town, roughly 50,000 people or whatever, so it was not
Yeah, me
not
too.
very
Smaller
not
than
very
that.
dangerous. I thought
Yeah,
you
I
grew up in
know. But
Chicago.
no, I didn't grow up in Chicago. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. Um, but like you said, you got to be home before dark. Like we'd go home before dark and eat, but then we'd play like breakout, like out, games out and around the neighborhood at, up until midnight in the dark that you can only play in the dark. Kick the can in the middle of the night with a floodlight. That one was fun. But nowadays, I don't think you should do that. It's too dangerous. Depending on where you live.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. That's kind of like a classic scare tactic is like things are always worse now than they were. Like obviously there have been a lot of periods in US history where you would not want to be outside after dark in major American cities, like
Sure.
there've been horrible periods in New York and Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, like just people are they're like I read I got super into the Grateful Dead this summer. I read the A Long Strange Trip, the book by their manager, and it's like, oh, San Francisco, peace and love, and it's all great. But like eventually they had to stop hanging out in San Francisco because it was just fucking awful. People started they changed the drugs they were doing, and it, obviously mirrored by today's any right-leaning person will be like, "Oh my God, San Francisco is the worst place on earth. It's hell. How could anyone live there? It just smells like piss and shit." And then people live there like, yeah, I don't know. There are some places that smell like piss and shit, but it's I still live here. You know,
Chicago does suck, like it worse compared to 15 years ago, I think, having lived there. Like
yeah,
there's more stores that aren't open. Like every third business is closed. Everything's more expensive. The crime is higher, like statistically. Your car gets broken into a lot more, stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, I think just the quality of life is worse. And we just get used to things so easily. We are such an adaptive species that we just get used to these changes without thinking about them, I think. So like, yeah, like you also look at things through rose colored glasses, but you also, things can get worse and you just adapt to it and don't even realize it can also happen. So like I think it cuts it cuts both ways. But like I was listening to this podcast here, and he was talking about he has a buddy who's from Korea, North Korea, right? And he escaped, and he lived in the mountains of China for a year and a half to get out. And they were in New York waiting for the sub in the middle of winter, and the Korean guy's like, "Oh, this sucks so bad." And he's like, "Weren't you in the Chinese mountains like 2 years ago?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. This
Oh
is
yeah, I
not."
forgot.
It's just, and Louis C.K. has a story like that too. And just we just adapt so quickly. Like thinking about someone who was born in 1850 and lived to like 1925, 1930. Like you would think that every day they'd just be like, I cannot believe we lived in just farming. That's it. Just farming. And now we have this, no one can go hungry if they don't want to. We have industrialization. You can get a job at a business, like work a job that's not backbreaking. Cars, planes, all the electricity. But they're probably just like us. And when electricity went out, they were probably like, this piece of shit electric company, they can't even keep the electricity on. And it's like, you were living in squalor.
Yeah, I mean, which is, again, comes back to like my favorite thing to talk about, which is that like our brains are just evolutionary, not equipped to handle the world that we live in right now, like our brains shouldn't, like I should not even be able to be talking to you right now. My brain really can't fucking handle that. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
We
because
should
we're not
we
actually next to each other.
Yeah, we should not be able to do a video conference,
Right. There's a
Yeah.
there's a term for this. It's called like hyper. I can't remember, but it's like we're not equipped to evolve this quickly. So like if you evolve too quickly, there could be all sorts of problems. But like in a hyper advanced changes, like a whole bunch of uh, problems could occur even more exponentially. And like yeah, I think that is kind of part of what's going on right now too. Like just the complete like we shouldn't know all these things that are going on in the world and the
I
country and
mean,
stuff. You never
that's
know it.
probably I would say the worst thing about being alive in the time that we are living. So again, let's go back in time. And let's say you don't even have to go back that far, right? Let's say um like post Civil War America, 1880, you live in Delaware. And let's say there's a fucking genocide happening in China. You probably literally never know.
Yeah,
You never
there
find out
probably
about it.
was. There was that Christian genocide. I think was around then.
Sure.
Yeah,
The government of Australia like sets every Aboriginal village they can
yeah,
find on fire, which again did probably happen. I'm just making things up, but like all this
right,
shit did probably happen. You don't know about it. And if you do know about it, you know about it like way later, way like 5 years after it happens. Some guy happens to come to your little fucking farming village or whatever and wants to trade you some cloth for some milk and is like,
right.
you hear about these? I'm
Maybe,
from,
yeah.
yeah.
But the also the flip side of that is they can't get away with as much now, which is why it seems so like brazen when I would call it like the regime, but call it whatever you want. The people and institutions and companies with power without consequences,
Yeah, I mean
politicians.
the two things that are happening right now is the
Uyghur genocide thing in
Uyghur
China. Yeah,
genocide
there's a lot of
and
people who have different opinions on whether that's genocide or not. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean maybe it's because I followed too many libs, but I've never heard anyone offer a counterpoint to that. And the Israel-Palestine war, where it's just like they're just fucking carpet bombing this whole area. I'm not trying to get canceled. I'm not fucking arguing Israel, Palestine, Hamas, whatever. I'm not doing it. I'm just saying a lot of people die every single day and nothing gets done about either of these things. Like no international body has acted to stop these things.
So RFK in that podcast I mentioned earlier with him and Dave Smith. Again, I think you might enjoy it. It is an hour, but um, he mentions like 5 or 6 things like that. The exact point. I just can't remember which ones they are. But yeah, you most likely wouldn't know that that stuff was going on. And however the regime described it, you would believe it.
Oh, sure. So if China was like, these are these really bad people, and all they want to do is rape and pillage your villages, so we're taking care of them for you, you'd be like, oh yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, well, the New York Times said so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like this is the paper record. And
Oh
also the
fuck, dude.
Washington.
Wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't that be a great, like, obviously it would be bad for the world at large for the bodies of power to be able to just do whatever they wanted, but it would feel very pleasing to you as an individual.
I mean, this is all I think you can hope for is just having people in power who share your preferences. Like none of this is another reason why people get upset about Israel Palestine and me and you don't. Well, I mean, we get upset, but I mean, like, and we can have a conversation about it. Is like it does not matter what we say here. Like it has no effect on anything. Like especially in your private life. Like there's no reason to get upset about any topic that you have no control over. You know what I mean? Basically, you can insult somebody, but we have no power in saying any of these things. So like it's like ridiculous to get to get upset over it. But the people who do have power, well, a large portion of probably the majority of the population does not trust them, does not believe their sources. And also, I was going to say this with like the New York Times now says the thing about China in 1980. We go, okay, we believe it. And the Washington Post says it. So like that's two independent sources confirming it. So it's got to be true. Well, now we know like they're basically working for the same people. In one way, they might not be in a smoke-filled room, but they have the same shared likes, interests, the same sources from the government, the same agenda. They kind of, they hate the same people. And so like that whole manufactured consent that Chomsky used to talk about is also kind of not entirely. I think in like 10, 15 years when the boomers start dying off, I don't want that to happen, but um like I think like they're those news sources will just be completely not completely gone, but like they're gonna have to work really hard to get any trust. And I think most of the trust will come from podcasting. And I also think most of um the political leaders will come from podcasting. That's a prediction I have. I don't think I ever said that on one of our
YouTube.
podcasts. Or
YouTube
have I?
before podcasting. No, I'm saying they'll be YouTubers before they'll be podcasters.
I count that the same. YouTube, podcast,
If
TikTokers, whatever.
if Mr. Beast woke up on Monday morning after the Super Bowl, Monday, February 12th, and he said, "You know what? Fuck it. Running for president. Vote for Mr. Beast." He gets more votes than RFK.
I don't think so. I think Joe Rogan would.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, sure.
Um, and podcasters will be anointing. They'll be anointing RFK or whoever. Like
Yeah.
I think that's the future.
Who's Rogan gonna endorse? RFK.
He's a lefty, so RFK probably. Yeah, RFK, especially if he gets the Libertarian ticket. Rogan will love that. Um, I mean, if RFK and Dave Smith joined up, it would be interesting at the very least because Dave Smith would be then. I'd love to if he was on the VP debate with Kamala Harris and whoever Trump picks, which is just an interesting discussion in itself. I think he's gonna pick like a Sarah Huckabee, something like that. I think it's gonna be a woman, maybe Christy Nome or somebody from that New York uh rep. Is her name's blanking. Um, I think there's like a 5% chance he even picks Nikki Haley. And then when he does, his cult following still won't even see that this guy is not gonna do anything. Um uh and then there's like a small chance like
Who do you think is sadder? The libs who have conned themselves into thinking that Joe Biden is a great president, or the people who think that Donald Trump is actually going to drain the swamp, despite the
God,
fact that he was president for 4 years and did not
that's a
drain the
good
swamp?
question.
I actually think the people who are like Joe Biden is the greatest president of the last 100 years are more sad because they should be smart enough to know better. They're the type of people who pride themselves on kind of being wonks and like, I know about politics. I got a poli-sci degree from Wharton or whatever, and still they still, they're like, oh, what a masterful game by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like it's like, no, he fucking he's the most mid-curve 80 IQ centrist president ever. He's basically, I mean, really, he's just Bill Clinton again, I guess.
Yeah. I think he's like pretty senile and just and his staff is
Yeah,
running.
just the Biden administration, not
Okay.
him
Yeah.
himself.
Anyways, before you said that, I couldn't decide, but I think you sold me. And another, I could say, I would say that the Trump, the Trump superfan, there's at least a 1% chance he's really pissed off. Like they're trying to put him in jail. So there's at least a 2% chance he could come in. I don't see it happening, but you could logically say, like if you put up a betting market, it wouldn't be zero, right? There'd be a 1, 2, 5% chance. Like, and it had a huge liquidity that he would, like, let's say fire 25% of the bureaucrats or something, that he actually would put up a border wall. Or like immigration goes down to, 10% of what it is currently. So whatever metrics you want to put up there for the bet. Like there is a chance that could happen. With Biden, like you're going to get 4 more years of exactly what's going on. But like, I mean, I guess if they like what's going on, maybe they're not the crazy ones. I mean, but I don't know how you like either of them.
I mean, both people are equally deluded, in my opinion, but one group of people isn't even being lied to because there is no propaganda source that's like Joe Biden is actually a great president. Like that's not even
That's happening. That's happening.
No,
They're
it's
trying to
not.
do they're trying to do the economy's great, and you dummies don't realize it.
Well, the
Exactly.
economy is great if you're a rich person. I mean, you're
Yeah, for some
fucking
people,
loving life right now if you're rich.
right. Yeah, if you could afford private schooling and you're, it doesn't matter the cost of cars or anything, houses, you don't care if you have to pay 7%, for a home loan, and because food prices almost doubled, that doesn't bother you. Yeah, you don't give a shit, um, but it's the economy, stupid is a saying for a reason, and people paying. I wanted to say this earlier, but it drives me like crazy to no end with the gas, with the border, and with like the homeless situation. These are just 3 off the top of my head. Oh, and just like crime in general. That they could, and even argue if you don't want any of that, like that's not my point. But they could, if they want, stop the vast majority of all this stuff. So like it, and it drives me up a wall that people like don't get upset about it. So like when Xi Jinping or whatever the leader of China came to San Francisco, I'm not sure if you saw this. Gavin Newsom held a press conference that he got rid of all the homeless people on the streets in like a week. And he had a press conference. He goes, some people might say that I got rid of this because the leader of China was coming here, and they'd be right. He made a joke about it, and you could go look this up. It's not fake. And then he goes,
I mean,
but
I believe it.
Also,
Gavin Newsom sucks ass.
Also, I did this because my point isn't to talk about Gavin Newsom. My point is if he can clean up the homeless situation, and he does it for this, but doesn't do it for other, because they just come back, right? Like if you get robbed, if somebody kills your grandma, like that's on him. Because he could clean this
yeah,
up.
I mean, no one denies that America could solve its homeless problem, its food insecurity problem, all of this. I mean, maybe not overnight, maybe a month. They could just take care of it for good. It'd just be over.
But like I'm saying, like more broadly, crime. Like everyone knows what you need to do with crime, right? And it's not a libertarian or liberal or even conservative. You fucking arrest them, you crack some skulls, and you have like heavy consequences. And it's not going
Isn't
to
that
solve all.
isn't that not true? That the heavy consequences generally don't do anything. It's more that if just you don't have people who are poor, there's less likely to commit crimes.
Well, I mean, I don't think it really matters either way. Like if you're poor or super poor or rich or whatever, if there's a bunch of cops on the streets arresting people looking for crime, you're going to have people who are wrongly convicted and stuff. Like I'm not saying this is a good solution, like or a perfect solution. I'm just saying if you wanted crime to go down, you know how to do it. It's put a whole shit ton of cops out there and or private security even and enforce laws that are already on the books. Same thing with the border. So like the thing with like the wall, which is kind of ironic now that like city liberals would just make fun of his big build the wall campaign in 2015 into the 2016 election. But now a lot of them are like, you know what, we actually need, after that it comes to their hometown. Like a lot of them are like, oh, actually, maybe we should have something like that. Or they don't even see like drawing the line of like, oh, maybe I didn't, maybe these southern states actually have tons of experience with this, and I shouldn't have been so quick to judge and think that building a wall is stupid and archaic. And like if you think about it too, like you could like the argument was building a wall's old and they could just dig under it and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, well, you could build like a modern wall, right? Like put up
A modern wall.
yeah, with like drones and like like whatever it's called with like I don't know what it's called, sonogram radar where you can look for tunnels, hire extra border security, some sort of technological ideas behind it. And also you just put up the old classic wall because clearly it's harder to get around a wall. Like, like it didn't have to be like this big, huge political divide. Right. And so like,
Yeah.
but point being, that's a little side
Well,
tangent.
we have been psyoped. I mean, it's just we have been psyoped into arguing about the wall instead of, noticing that our fucking money is worthless. It's like
Yeah.
immigration definitely matters, but like any of this argument about who's gonna pay for the wall, psyop, total
I
psyop.
that's a huge point of a lot of these issues, woke stuff mainly. Um,
I mean, I completely disagree with you. It's just woke stuff. It's also conservative stuff. It's like caring about like abortions and things like that. That's a psyop.
well, I wasn't even making like a negative or positive claim about woke stuff. I was just saying like I think they want us to argue about it.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
That was my point.
either way,
Yeah.
yes.
I think they listen, don't look over here that we just, printed $7 trillion. Argue about trans bathrooms. Argue about Little Mermaid, in Star Wars. Don't argue about this stuff. Even border stuff too. Even some of the larger things. But like I don't know if you saw like this migrant. This is a big news story in New York. Like that, these migrants beat up those two cops. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
And
I did.
then they got the one guy, and he's had a bunch of other charges already, and they released him without bail. And then when he was leaving, he was flicking off all the news reporters. And so he's got that meme going on where he's just flicking off. He's wearing like a Lakers jersey with flicking off the cameras. And but like my point is they they clearly can do something about all these issues. They just don't.
Correct.
Like and
Yeah.
like back to the 80s thing, like if this was the 80s, you wouldn't even know half this stuff's going on. So like now we know it's going on, and we can also see that like, oh, you just don't care. You're just gonna print $100 billion and give it to your weapons manufacturers who are gonna, send the weapons to Israel and Ukraine, and the money goes back to you. That's what this is all about, isn't it?
We Jerome Powell said this last week that the United States is on an unsustainable course of the printing of money. Jerome Powell said the printer, too much printing.
Hmm.
How about that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
How about pot, meat, kettle?
Yeah. Yeah.
You printed, I think $7 trillion Jerome. Also, like, so you're admitting to causing this inflation then. You guys caused this.
I'm gonna be honest. I read the headline and did not read I just saw it on. I just saw
I'm
it on
just saying,
Reddit.
doesn't that kind of logic, if he did say that in the story, doesn't that kind of logically follow? It logically follows that if you think money printing is causing a lot of problems, then that 7 trillion you printed during COVID caused the immediate problems of why it's $14 for a meal at McDonald's now. I mean, it
The
has to logically follow.
I mean, it just feels insane. And obviously, there's like nothing we can do, and it's never going to go the other way. So all you can do is just buy Bitcoin and opt out as much as you can, because it's like
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to make a McChicken a buck again. It'll never happen. Dollar menu, bro, no fucking chance. Doesn't exist. Won't exist ever.
Yeah. Like the possible outcomes are we go back to Will Smith, we go status quo, just keeps going. That's the most likely one. There is a um, big Caesar reaction, which could go either way. I think those are kind of like the only three outcomes. Is
You
they
know
roll it
what?
back a
I
little.
I think I think the Caesar thing is just so unlikely because
Yeah,
we have no one who is smart enough or noble enough to be Caesar in the whole country.
right. Yes. Caesar could also be like a bad Caesar, right? It
Right,
could
but
be Nero.
in the implication of that is that it's a hero worth heroing.
Okay. I meant it more as it could be Nero, it could be Marcus Aurelius, it could be any of the Roman emperors, but it would just be, I was talking about before, like Trump's the dam, not the flood. And if the flood does come, like if he's a martyr, he's in jail and he doesn't win, then somebody can get in there, and it doesn't mean they're good. It doesn't mean they're good, but they could come in, with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Um, just because they'll have like so much of the population behind them that they can effectively, and the president can act as a tyrant. I mean, they have plenty of executive power now, like that. Congress is ceded so much to the executive branch that they could do quite a bit if they really wanted to. So it's possible. I mean, obviously, it'd be great if we got a Caesar or a Marcus Aurelius or somebody who shared, the preferences you want. But that's like in the 2% chance. I think the rollback to Fresh Prince of Bel Air is like 20% chance, and then like 80, 79, 75% chance of status quo, baby.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go have lunch before we do this cast. I think I mean, look, we've psyoped the people enough in our own way.
That was that was the least amount of psyop talk we've done usually.
Yeah,
We have more than that.
normally there's more. We will try and inundate you guys more. I mean, now once football is over, I think I can try and do this like once a week. I probably have enough time that we can do it as we are heading to decision 2024.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
it's gonna get this is gonna be a fun year. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be back whenever we feel like it. Later.